Australian Open draw. Coco Gauff and Venus Williams set for potential meeting in second round. Coco Gauff and Venus Williams could meet in the second round of the Australian Open, another potential chapter in a tennis tale that started with a 15-year-old on her Grand Slam debut beating a 7-time major winner at Wimbledon. Coco Gauff and Venus Williams could meet in the second round of the Australian Open, another potential chapter in a tennis tale that started with a 15-year-old on her Grand Slam debut beating a 7-time major winner at Wimbledon. Gauff thanked Williams for being such an inspiration for her career after that win at the All England Club in 2019, saying, "I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her." She followed it up with a first-round win at the Australian Open in 2020. Now she's the number 3 seed and a 2-time major winner. The 45-year-old Williams has a wild-card entry for the Australian Open, where she's playing for the first time in 5 years. The tournament starts Sunday at Melbourne Park. When the draw was conducted Thursday, Gauff was drawn to open against number 91 ranked Kamila Rakimova and number 576 ranked Williams, who made her Australian Open debut in 1998 and has twice reached the final, was drawn to face number 68 ranked Olga Danilovic in the first round. Williams is set to become the oldest woman to compete in an Australian Open main draw, surpassing the record previously held by Japan's Kimiko Date, who was 44 when she lost in the first round at Melbourne Park in 2015. To have any chance of facing Gauff again, she needs to do something she hasn't done in 2026, record a win. In the last 2 weeks, Williams played tournaments in New Zealand and in Hobart, losing in the first round at both. After a 6-4, 6-3 win over Williams on Tuesday, Tatiana Maria said it was a tough one because everyone loves Venus. "I love her too." Gauff and Williams are in the same half of the draw as top-ranked Aryna Sabalenka, who won back-to-back Australian Open titles before losing last year's final to Madison Keys. Sabalenka, who opened her season with a title in Brisbane last week, has a potential third-round meeting against 2021 U.S. Open winner Emma Raducanu. Defending champion Keys, who lost her quarter-final match at the Adelaide International to rising Canadian star Victoria Mboko in 3 sets on Thursday, was drawn into the same quarter as number 6 Jessica Pegula and number 4 Amanda Anisimova. Number 2 ranked Iga Swiatek, seeking a career Grand Slam with her first title at Melbourne Park, is in the bottom quarter on that side of the draw and has a potential 4th-round match against 4-time major winner Naomi Osaka. Jannik Sinner and Novak Djokovic landed in the same half of the draw, setting up a potential semifinal between the defending champion and the 24-time major winner. Djokovic, who has won 10 Australian titles but hasn't gone past the semifinals at Melbourne Park since 2023, played an exhibition against Francis Tiafoe on Rod Laver Arena hours after the draw was made. He withdrew last week from a warm-up tournament in Adelaide to give himself more time to be ready for the Open. Top-ranked Carlos Alcaraz is on the opposite side to Sinner and Djokovic, and has Tiafoe and local hope and 6th-seeded Alex de Minaur in his quarter of the draw. Except for the headline, this story has not been edited by NDTV staff and is published from a syndicated feed. Topics mentioned in this article. Australian Open draw. Coco Gauff and Venus Williams set for a potential second-round meeting. Melbourne has always had a way of turning tennis into theatre. Under the sharp January sun and the electric glow of Rod Laver Arena at night, generations collide, legends linger, and futures announce themselves. This year's Australian Open draw has offered one of its most poetic possibilities yet, a potential second-round meeting between Coco Gauff and Venus Williams, a matchup that feels less like a routine fixture and more like a conversation between eras. At first glance, it is simply tennis math. 2 names placed in the same section of the draw. 2 wins away from crossing paths. But tennis, especially at the Australian Open, has never been only about numbers. It is about stories, timing, and symbolism. And few potential matches capture all 3 quite like this one. The weight of Venus. Venus Williams walks into every Grand Slam carrying history with her. 7 major singles titles. Multiple Olympic gold medals. A career that helped reshape not only women's tennis but the very culture of the sport. Long before baseline power became the norm, Venus redefined what athleticism, reach, and aggression could look like on a tennis court. At the Australian Open, Her relationship with Melbourne has always been complicated. Unlike Wimbledon, where she ruled with regal authority, or the US Open, where home crowds roared her on, Australia has often been a place of near misses. Finals played, trophies narrowly missed. Yet even now, decades into her career, Venus's presence in the draw still carries gravity. She is no longer seeded, no longer expected, but she remains dangerous in the way only true champions can be, through experience, through belief, and through the quiet confidence of someone who has survived every version of pressure the sport can offer. Coco's moment, Coco's time. On the other side of this potential collision stands Coco Gauff, the embodiment of tennis's present and future. Still astonishingly young, yet already seasoned by Grand Slam runs, late-night battles, and the relentless expectations placed on prodigies. Coco grew up watching Venus and Serena Williams dominate the sport. Their influence isn't abstract, it's foundational. She has spoken openly about what they meant to her, about seeing herself reflected in them, about believing a tennis dream was possible because the Williams sisters had already lived it. Now, Coco arrives in Melbourne not as a wide-eyed teenager but as a legitimate contender. Her game has matured, the serve stronger, the forehand heavier, the defense still relentless. The Australian Open represents another opportunity to assert herself not just as a rising star, but as a player capable of shaping the tournament's narrative. A second-round meeting with Venus would test far more than strokes and footwork. It would test composure, emotional balance, and the ability to manage reverence while competing without hesitation. When generations collide, if the matchup happens, it will be more than youth versus experience. It will be past meeting present in real time. Venus, with her long, flowing ground strokes and court coverage that defies age, still plays the game on her own terms. She doesn't rush points, she imposes them. Coco, by contrast, thrives on speed and adaptability, able to turn defense into offense in a heartbeat. But the most compelling dynamic may be psychological. How does one play freely against a hero? How does one compete fiercely against someone who helped build the path you now walk? For Venus, the challenge is different but no less profound. She would face not just an opponent, but a living testament to her legacy. Coco is part of the generation Venus inspired, proof that her influence extended beyond trophies and into transformation. Melbourne stage. The Australian Open has a habit of amplifying moments like these. The crowd, knowledgeable and vocal, understands when it is witnessing something rare. If Gauff and Williams step onto the court together, the applause will begin long before the first ball is struck. Every point would feel weighted,